Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk about why, for a couple of videos I've been saying now, I feel as though Quinn Mallory is both Peter Parker slash Spider-Man and also Clark Kent slash Superman. Because the thing about Quinn in the 4 seasons he was in, he transitioned. He transitioned a lot. He wasn't that same person he was early on in the pilot, or even in the first season for the most part. He slowly started to evolve, and then by the third season, he had fully embraced his superhero-ness. Then in the fourth season, his superhero-ness evolved once again. See, I like to look at it like this. Now, we all heard the old tale, with great power comes great responsibility. It is a very famous Spider-Man quote. In fact, it's not even the real quote itself from the comic books. That quote has never truly been used in that fashion in the comic books. It was something else and then later got remodified for the 90s Spider-Man show. And ever since then, people have just been using that quote. And with Quinn, he had great power and he had a great responsibility, but he misused it, similar to that of Peter Parker. And as a result, his loved one died and were hurt and had been punished over time. See, Quinn Mallory, from what we knew in the pilot in the first season, he was just this lovable, dopey, dorky guy who's really tall, really muscular, and like he had a knack for science. The man was literally a super genius. Before that, however, he was just like Peter Parker, a teeny tiny little kid who used to get picked on when he was little. And we see that in the third season when they travel to a world and we see little Quinn and the events of what happened to our Quinn Mallory are repeating themselves in this one episode for the little kid. It's a little kid, he has a thirst for science somewhat, and he's constantly getting bullied and picked on by kids. So much that he decides to get revenge on this one kid who's beating him up too much. He takes a baseball bat and he's about to break this dude's knees. But instead, he decides to fight the bully because the older Quinn taught him how to fight. Now, for our Quinn Mallory, things turned out differently. He actually took the baseball bat to that dude's knees and messed him up to the point where the dude is still messed up even to his adult age. And, you know, Peter Parker, he used to get picked on and bullied a lot because he's a little nerdy kid. And Peter Parker remained a nerdy kid until he got bit as a teenager by that radioactive spider. And then when he did that, what happened? We all know what happened. He gained his superpowers. And then he created a costume. He started wrestling to earn some money. And then he let a bank robber type dude get away with some money. And that same robber ended up at his house and killed his Uncle Ben. And it was then he decided, you know, with his power, he's gonna be responsible and start fighting crime. Now, as Spider-Man was born, Peter Parker was adjusting. He was transitioning. He was now this lean, muscular dude with no glasses. And he had a whole different personality. He was still nerdy and everything, but he had more confidence. He walked a certain way. He acted a certain way. He treated people a certain way. He was more sarcastic now to people when he was in his Peter Parker form. And then when he was in his Spider-Man form, basically, like in the comic books and even in the cartoon series and everything else, he was a jerk to people. Like he would constantly berate people and then beat the stew out of them and then web them up and then call it a day. And the thing, it wasn't so much quips. He was literally just picking on people, like verbally and stuff. Like he will always insult his villains as he will like whoop on them and stuff. And it's like Peter Parker will constantly insult his peers that didn't necessarily like him all that much. Now I know what you're saying. What does this have to do with Quinn and Mallory? Well, when Quinn was in college, like I said before, he was this tall, lean, muscular dude. He used to wear glasses back in the day because we saw a picture of him wearing glasses. But in the pilot, we see him, he don't wear glasses. He's that little dopey kind of dude. And he has built sliding technology. His sliding technology is his radioactive spider. And since he was perfecting it, for years and stuff, and by that time he ditched the glasses and stuff. So he already got bit. And he wasn't ready to be that superhero type dude yet. But then he started to slide. And in that pilot episode, towards the end, he got his first taste of being a hero. In that world, America was ruled by Russia. And they had a bunch of American resistance fighters arrested. And they had his Rembrandt Brown arrested and stuff. So he had to go save him. And in that episode, he's given a gun for the first time. He doesn't use it, but instead he fights the dude. And then it's kind of like, well, how did he learn how to fight? Because he's supposed to be this dopey, nerdy type dude. But with his stature, you think he'll know how to fight. But because of the way he acts all in the pilot, like all silly and goofy, it's kind of like, how did he learn how to fight? And so he's already this tough dude, but he doesn't use his strength or power. And so, he rescues some people. And let's see. By the rest of like the season, he's not really using like his strength or his skills or nothing like that. He's not cocky yet, but he is starting to slowly be that way. He's sarcastically in a joking kind of way, but not a rude kind of way. But then in Eggheads towards the end, after taking some abuse from the mob dude, before he leaves, he decides to get in like some like verbal licks and stuff. And that was then when he was now progressing into more of the cocky Spider-Man / Peter Parker-ness. He was starting to get a little bit smug. He was starting to smell himself now. His cockiness will only grow in that British world when he became a resistance fighter. And then he started like trying to liberate the people that were being oppressed there. Once again, he was slowly evolving into Spider-Man, the hero. Now, throughout the first season and throughout the entire series, we see Quinn, he is very protective of his friends. He gets upset every time Wade starts liking another guy or a guy starts to abuse her in some kind of way. He gets upset when like Rembrandt goes off and parties, and he gets upset in the way of he's worried that Rembrandt will miss the slide. He doesn't even know Rembrandt, but yet every time they're separated, he does worry and stuff. Now, by the second season, we start to see a shift in his personality. Gone is that goofiness now, just like with Peter Parker. And now, he is slowly once again starting to save people he don't even know. It is to the point where the professor has to get on to him because Quinn is now starting to save strangers that he has seen being abused. But it doesn't happen that much in the second season. It happens probably like once or twice, mainly with females and stuff. And so it's like he's being this heroic person, but also it's probably a little lustful at that same time, But mainly he is starting to slowly become like that heroic person. Like when he saved that one woman from being abused by the dude who plays Negan. Now, of course, we can't forget about Dalen Richards. In that entire episode, he was constantly at Dylan McMillan's like throat and everything because he really loved Dalen, and she was being abused physically and verbally by the other dude and that dude. And so it's like, he literally punches that guy. And this isn't the type of person who goes around punching people. And not only does he punch him, but he gives him the famous single punch, the slider single punch that we see the professor use a lot, where he just hits somebody as hard as he can. And that person is literally out there like they drop to the ground and stuff. Sometimes they wobble, sometimes they get up, sometimes they don't. And he is now becoming more of the heroic person. Then we get into season 3. In season 3, he has fully now become Spider-Man. Now he leaps before he looks. Now, every time he sees a person who might be in distress, he leaps into action and is ready to fight off the bad person or chase them off and stuff. And it's normally the females that he's always rescuing, and then he always ends up having some type of love connection with them. And so it's kind of like, this is the part that really gets on the professor's nerves, because now Quinn has lost all self-control and is going through this whole hero persona and stuff. And we see him start to get more cocky as he's becoming more heroic and everything. And just like with Spider-Man Peter Parker, Spider-Man would sometimes have multiple women in his life. And he would like go in between which woman does he want. And, Quinn does that a lot too. Throughout the first 2 seasons, it was the whole will he, won't he with Wade thing. And he knew deep down inside he liked her a little bit, but he also liked playing the field when he was sliding. But yet, every now and then, he'll keep going back to Wade and giving her this perception that he wanted her, until she realized in the 3rd season he doesn't want her and stuff. That's something Peter Parker does, not intentionally, but does. And then in the 3rd season, there's the whole Maggie Beckett almost affair. Maggie Beckett was married to this one dude, Steven, and she was literally her and Quinn was about to kiss in one episode, but they don't. And he is attracted to her, a married woman. And the husband, he sees this crap and he is not happy at all by this. And it's kind of like, whoa, Quinn, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not that type of person who does this type of thing. So why exactly are you doing it? Now, of course, Quinn needs his Uncle Ben figure. He needs that person to die. And of course, who is that? The professor. See, Quinn's dad's been dead for a while now, and him and the professor are pretty close. The professor is like a mentor to him. And of course, with great power comes great responsibility, and Peter Parker let his Uncle Ben die because he wasn't responsible enough. Quinn was not responsible enough to control sliding. He took a risk, he put his friends' lives in jeopardy, and as a result, 2 different professors have now suffered from this. The real professor is now trapped on another world that is similar to his own, without his loved ones, without his friends that he went sliding with. And then the second professor, the bad professor who slid, he ends up dying. Now, even though he's the bad professor, when he slid, he turned straight into the good guy and everything. And so it's like, and Quinn accepted that, you know what I'm saying? He knew he probably not be able to get his real professor back, so he accepted this dude. And next thing you know, he gets shot by the bad dude from season 3. And so, yeah, so now his Uncle Ben figure has died, all because he couldn't control something that he should have been more responsible of. And just like when Uncle Ben died, when the professor died, Quinn slowed his roll down. He literally stopped leaping into danger and stopped trying to save everybody, because he realized he screwed up. And he also took to heart what the professor was saying. Stop jumping into action before somebody ends up getting hurt. Quinn's own mom is even his very own Aunt May figure. She worries about him when Aunt May, she knew at some point in time Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And so at some point, Quinn's mom found out he slid. And after he slid, well, to tell you the truth, remember in the fourth episode, on the fourth season, she knew for a fact that wasn't even her real son and stuff. And so, like, but she still cared for him like it was her son. And it's like, no matter what, she worried when he slid from world to world and never came back. And especially when she found out that he merged with the other dude. So now in season 3, the dude has literally fully now become Spider-Man. And now we get into season 4 when he becomes Superman. Now, why does he go from being Spider-Man to Superman, you might ask? Well, because in the 4th season, they decided they were going to jazz things up. They decided that Quinn Mallory, that we all know and love from the pilot and everything, is not from that Earth. He is not from the Earth as the other Sliders. He is from Chromat Prime. Superman Kal-El is not from Earth. He is from Krypton. He was sent to Earth because Krypton was dying. Quinn Mallory was sent to another Earth because his world was in conflict with the Chromats. They was at war. That's the whole Superman connection right there. Also, when Superman comes to Earth and everything, he learns, he does or he turns to Clark, then he becomes Superboy, and then, he becomes Superman. And the thing about, what's his name, Quinn, is that he's already gone through his superhero journey. So it's kind of like from the pilot episode in season 1, the whole Spider-Man Peter Parker thing, that's his Superboy moment. And then so now in the 4th season, he's fully aware of who he is and have become a true hero now. But he is more calm and he is more tame. And just like Superman, depending on which Superman you get, some Supermans you get that just jumps into action and starts pounding stuff. And other Superman that you get in other medium, he will think a situation out before he starts punching his way through. And that is what Quinn does in the 4th season. He thinks his situations through a whole lot more clear. Because now he sees the big scope of everything. He sees the design of how the world works and stuff. Very much like Superman. And he even has his own Lois Lane type figure in the form of Maggie Beckett, because Maggie will literally leap into action and get herself into trouble just like Lois Lane. And they have a similar hairstyle. And the thing that makes them both Spider-Man or Superman is that this dude has saved the world or helped save other worlds countless times while sliding. And that's something both Spider-Man and Superman does. And then just like with both Superman and Spider-Man, they both end up dying tragic deaths and stuff. And Quinn Mallory does the same thing in season 5. He is now merged with one of his doubles that looks nothing like him. And then when they try to separate Quinn from his double Mallory, it ends up killing our Quinn Mallory and stuff. And so it's like the dude was literally written to be a superhero from day 1 of the pilot, and it ended in the premiere of pretty much just the entire 5th season and stuff. Oh, and also, Peter Parker / Spider-Man is a super genius, and so is Quinn Mallory. Also, when it comes to Superman, depending on which version of the comic book you read, sometimes he's pretty smart too. Like in All-Star Superman, he was able to create all kind of stuff. Also, what's really interesting is Jerry O'Connell, the dude who plays Quinn Mallory, he has actually voiced Superman before in some of the DC animated movies. So that was my analysis of why I feel Quinn Mallory is Spider-Man, is Superman, is Kal-El, is Peter Parker and stuff. It's funny. I wonder did the writers and the creators think of that too when they was like coming up with that character? Or did it somehow just become like a weird coinky-dink, you know what I'm saying?